Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, and I'm glad that I found a little bit of time to come on and check in with all of you. I have been wanting to do a video since last week, although then I'm like, oh, it makes sense to put it off till this week. I'll explain all that in a moment. And then just in the variety of things that life has thrown at you, but I'm like, you know what, let me see if I can squish it in today. So here I am. One of the reasons, well, you probably are seeing in the description I've put below, there's basically two topics for today's Flosstube. One is the Needlework Marketplace, which is coming up, and the second is a retreat that I went to just last week. So I'm just going to jump right in. Needlework Marketplace is an online wholesale show, and you may have been seeing all kinds of postings on Instagram and Facebook and newsletters and so on of designers who are coming out with new releases here end of August. It is kind of like the equivalent of an online version of Nashville. And while I know a lot of people who are watching this might know exactly what I'm talking about, the teacher in me also assumes there's some people that have no idea what I'm talking about. So the brief explanation is Nashville, which takes place in March, is when designers and fabric dyers and thread companies and so on come together, and stores show up and they purchase in person right there, and they bring items home, and then they fill their stores, and you all customers come in to purchase. So when you say a wholesale show, it's not like just anyone can walk in and purchase things. You have to be a buyer for a store. During COVID time, the whole, well, what are we going to do, not have a Nashville and so on, and the idea came out of, well, what about an online show? And cross stitch is certainly not the only industry that was like, we're going to do it like this. And so the last few years, there has been, well, there was the March one because Nashville was canceled in 2021, but since then there's been an online show in August, and it's sort of it's like the best of both worlds. Two shows a year, one in person, one online. Both have pros and cons to them. So the online show called Needlework Marketplace is an opportunity for stores. They register ahead of time. They prove they're a store, and they shop through a website venue kind of thing. They go into your stores. You can video chat in person. They can place orders. You as an exhibitor can visit other exhibitor stores. And it will be going on, I should have had the dates. It's not this coming weekend. It all depends on when you're watching this video. But the following weekend, which is maybe like the 22nd or something like that. And then all the exhibitors will be mailing out to the stores the things they've purchased, and then as soon as stores get them, they'll be giving them to you all. Whether it's a physical brick and mortar store, they'll get them on the shelves, on the tables, on the whatever. Whether it's an online store, they'll get them out to you. So all this to say, near end of August is another time of year where the cross-stitch industry, people start putting out all their good stuff. Well, hopefully they put out good stuff all the time, but so if you don't know, again, the teacher in me wants to make sure I'm not assuming things. I am a designer. I design under the name Works by ABC, and I have 5 new designs that I'm putting out for Needlework Marketplace. Some of these I have actually already shown in Flosstubes over the last few months, just something I'm trying out a little different, not keeping everything a secret, and just sort of seeing how it goes when you the pros and cons of that is that you post a picture, everyone's like, oh, I want to get it. And then you're like, well, you can get it in 4 months. So on the other hand, you post a picture brand new, you can get it next week, but maybe it doesn't have as much audience because there's so many other things going on. Pros and cons. Anyway, I'm going to jump right in with my 5 new releases and just going alphabetical that's just the way it is. Last week, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I sent out my email to stores, and this is the way it works. Many exhibitors will send an email to stores saying, hey, here's my new things, here's the details of them. Some stores will take pre-orders to see what the interest is. The pre-order thing is a lot different than the Nashville piece, because I have to send out my store email a certain period ahead because I need to have a cutoff deadline for my pre-orders so that I can actually get prepared and get them to Nashville. A store could do a pre-order, but there's no point. No one is supposed to be sending out any patterns or any items being sold until basically that weekend or the Monday of that weekend. So I got that email out to stores, and I was like, let me see if I can do a Flosstube to share. And then, like I said, I was going to this retreat. I'm like, you know what, let me just share at the same time. So we are starting out my first alphabetical release. I am calling, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get it set up in the stand here, Captivating Rosette. And I don't remember if I shared this on a Flosstube video, but if you were at StitchCon Weekend B and happened to be walking by my table, I was working on this. And Sunday afternoon of StitchCon, many people had already cleared out, but I had finished it, and I went up and rang the bell, even though it's not typically what I like to do, but I did it. So I love using the ThreadWorks threads that I used for this. So it's stitched with 6 ThreadWorks threads. I went with blues and greens. You can go with any color combination you want. It's one of these designs that once you get a border, the outline in, you're just filling in. Each ring, shall we call it? Now I'm getting like a little too bright with my lighting, is a different filling pattern. So, you could see the most outer ring is just like every other stitch. But maybe you can see the green inside of that has like boxes, and the blue in the center is completely filled in. And I'm thinking you can see coming across pretty clearly is the variegation and how nicely that plays out. I like every variegated thread company that I know, hand-dyed that I know, there are some threads that are just like the perfect level of variegation for me, meaning subtle. And there's a lot of threads that are the opposite of that. And I tend to avoid the ones that are opposite of that. But this time around, there was a perfect thread to pull together the 2 colors that I was going for, which was blues and greens. And so included in this is this thread, which is called Belle's Dress. And you could clearly see it's got blues and greens. And that's what this ring has in it. So to me, it's a lot of fun to stitch on something. Like I said, once I got the lay of the land, it's just fill in, and it's perfect retreat stitching. I have it sitting on a stand that is intended to be a phone stand from IKEA. I have some other stands like this, but I saw this some long time ago. I happened to be in IKEA not that long after that, and I saw these, and like $2-3. I'm like, well, let me get a couple and see if it's something that's going to work for me. And for certain projects, it does. So doing a hoop finish is perfect if you have a circular design, and I just have it sitting here. So I love the look at it. You're, again, not limited to blues and greens. You could do this in any number of color combinations. It is 91 by 91 stitches, so it's not huge. Like I said, 6 ThreadWorks. I put the DMC equivalents, as most designers will, with the full acknowledgement. Something like Belle's Dress, which has blue and green, the only way you could come close to that is if you're doing something where you're stitching with 2 strands, and one could be blue and one could be green. What else was I going to say about this? I guess that's it. Oh, the fabric. I used 32 count Witchell Country French linen in the color Cafe Mocha. This is one of my favorite, like, neutrals. I mean, it's not like a dark sampler neutral, because it's got some texture. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not just a solid, but it is. It's not a hand-dyed thing. Witchell's linen in general doesn't really work for me. Personally, I find it a little stiff. But this Country French linen, which is like manufactured slightly differently, doesn't come in many colors. But I love the Cafe Mocha that they have with it. So there we go. Captivating Rosette. First one. Next up is one that I know I was definitely posting on Instagram as I was working on it, and there was definitely a lot of interest, which was great fun for me. So I'm just going to orient it the way I want to orient it. This is called Color Wheel Bouquet. And there's lots of pieces of this that I love to share in terms of the background, my process. I know as a stitcher, when I'm not stitching my own things, which is not that often these days, but when I'm looking at patterns, if there's a story behind it, I always like to hear the story. This design is actually partially based off of a lace doily, like a lace doily that had flowers around it. And while I certainly have my lace design series, I wasn't in any way thinking, let me do white as I've been doing with a darker color fabric. No, this was my opportunity to play with color. I've been doing, I mean, this is true for the last few years. You probably have seen some Flosstube videos if you've been around, where I talk about my interest in color theory and color wheels and the history and how things have evolved and changed over the years. And this just became the perfect one to kind of play with that. Now, a typical color wheel, which of course I meant to take out, and I don't know how quickly, I'm looking, I don't have one quickly available. But primary colors being blue, red, and yellow, and the secondary colors which come in between them. So between blue and yellow comes green, between yellow and red comes purple, and between red and blue comes orange. No, backwards. Between red and blue is purple, and between red and yellow is orange. So if you do that, that's 12 colors. And then sometimes they are called the tertiary colors, the three, as opposed, secondary is 2, tertiary is 3, could put colors in between all those. And what comes from that is 18 colors. And this just kind of worked out really nicely with 16 flowers. And so then I was trying to think, not quite your typical color wheel in terms of primary colors, blue, red, yellow, primary colors, sort of those bold colors. I was trying to do something a little more subtle. This is all done in DMC, which, if you can imagine, you need that flexibility of color that you can't really find when you're doing something like with hand-dyed threads. So you can see, and it's not coming across super duper clearly, it's a blue. It's certainly not like a royal blue. And when you go around here, you get to greens, to yellows, orange, red, purples. And I just kind of created a little bit of a geometric design in the center there. So I just love the way it looks. I've gotten lots of positive feedback about it. This is not on a hoop stand. This is a hoop frame, which I will put a link. I will write myself a link to tell you the shop where I get these. Simply put, I'll show you the secrets. It comes with a hoop, and there's all different kinds of woods and different styles. A narrow hoop. Sorry, it comes with a frame. What did I just say? A narrow hoop. You can see it's kind of narrower than a typical hoop that literally sits in here. Did I do anything fancy? No. I literally shoved the fabric in and made it as tight as I could. I didn't even do any lacing. It's just sitting there. And then this piece of whatever you call this stuff lays right on top. And a few little flicks of this and you're done. To me, this is easier than even a hoop finish, meaning using a regular hoop on its own. And it's another perfect one for circular designs. I really love this company. I know I've shown other designs of mine that I've used them for. So, details, this is 133 by 133. It is used with a total of 18 DMCs, so the 16 colors, a green for the leaves and stems, and then a brownish to kind of pull it all together. I stitched this on 32 count Kenneth linen from Grace Notes, and I will be circling back around in a moment to talk about them because the retreat I went to was put on by Grace Notes Fabrics. It's one of my favorite of theirs. It's a soft brown, but it's not overly mottled, not overly splotchy is always my word, which I know sounds negative, and I don't mean it to be that way. So there we go. Color wheel bouquet. Okay, alphabetically next, and I totally meant to check my last Flosstube, and I totally forgot to see whether I'd shared these in the last Flosstube. Last month, July, was my Stitch NJ retreat, And for the past 2 years, my friend Kim and I have been doing a collaboration, sort of a retreat exclusive. She makes project bags. I design a pattern that kind of coordinates, inspired by, and it's a retreat exclusive for that time period. And then, as I did last year, I put out that design as a Needlework Marketplace release. And wouldn't it be great if I had my project bag available? And I don't. But it has a number of motifs, and I have recreated, my computer's too low for me to actually do that, 3 motifs. And I stitched these on 14 count perforated paper. And I found these little stands at the dollar store that I'm like, this is perfect. The colors in them are inspired by the colors of the project bag, purple and turquoise and pink. But you're not limited to that. They are the perfect size for like a geometric shaped ornament of some kind. I'm even going to take this off. So, they're just attached with a magnet. And again, I actually use black perforated paper but then I ended up filling in the black because leaving the black perforated paper showing just didn't look right. And they are perfect for ornament size, for little gift size. And I've even put on the pattern some thoughts, like if you put it in Christmas colors, or even Halloween colors, or even patriotic colors. So they have 5 colors in them. And this is the side of me as a designer that, I like to say the model was stitched with. I tend to avoid the phrase the called for, because I'm not calling for anything. Stitch any design of mine in any color, any fabric, any thread that you want. These, again, the color scheme was inspired by a project bag. I call them Kaleidoscope because to me they kind of have that look to them. The 2 more circular ones are 39 by 39, so they're small. This one is actually 45 by 45, but because of the pointy, it looks to be about the same. And like I said, they are stitched on 14 count perforated paper with DMC. That's all it is. So if you're looking for fun little geometric designs that really could be used in you could stitch them together on one like fabric piece. There you go. Kaleidoscope. Okay. Alphabetically. I can't think timing-wise when this was. It was definitely before Stitch NJ. I realized I had 4 designs either ready to go or just about ready to go to be my releases for Needlework Marketplace, and I was looking for one more. Something not large, just something else. And I have I have a little notebook where I keep design ideas, and then I do have like some pictures on my computer just when I see something inspired by something. And this was looking through those pictures, and it was, you see quotes all over the place. This one was like outside of a church. Sometimes churches put like a quote, and I suppose they're often Bible verses, but a lot of times they're not. And this just really hit me. Books, minds, and umbrellas work only if they're open. And I think that is so true in our world. So I love that I was able to, like, my vision was a book. I was even thinking, can I do like a 3-dimensional book thing? I'm like, no. And I just loved how this turned out. I finished it as a flat fold. I haven't done too many flat folds, but I was really pleased how this turned out. So I am glad for that. Oops, where am I going? Calling it Only If Open. It is stitched on 32 count Legacy from Picture This Plus, and I used 3 Weeks Dye Works threads, which I sew. Oh, look at this! I put them right here, although they're in the thing. No, I just dropped this. So I have Raspberry Shepherd, Shepherd's Blue. No, sorry, Raspberry, Shepherd's Blue, and Seaweed. Just, it was just sort of the color scheme that worked in my brain. 3 colors. I mean, you could stitch this as a monochrome. You could stitch it as all kinds of things. It is 143 by 79, but keep in mind there's all a lot of open space, so it did not feel like a project that was one almost 150 across. It just didn't. It stitched up quick for me, and again, the saying to me says a lot. So there you go, only if open. And then the last of my Needlework Marketplace's releases, I know I had posted pictures on Instagram. This was some months ago. I want to say it was like even before Nashville, in that January to February time where I have my Nashville pieces are done and I'm actively doing prep work for it. And I'm not quite feeling inspired yet of new things. But one thing that I had wanted to do, which I haven't done in a long time, was a blackwork design. And I both have websites bookmarked, but also have, on my computer and stuff like that, old pattern books. And that sometimes I refer to those like from the 1600s. Sometimes they're old books, and I just go through them and see what hits me. I have a book that is from 1880. It's Teresa Dilmont. She's like the DMC person, and I forget all the background history of how her connection in DMC, whether she's not the D of DMC. Anyway, Teresa Dilmont, Motifs de Broderie Copte, which is to say it was a book of rug designs from 1880. And I was just like, that's a cool idea. And so I adopted it. Didn't, in my eyes, it didn't in any way adapt to being cross stitch, but it worked out beautifully as a blackwork design. So this is called Woven Star in Blackwork. It is 191 by 191, and I stitched one DMC thread over DMC 310 1/2 on 32 count strawberry latte linen from Grace Notes. If you've never done blackwork before, I mean, the easiest way to say is it's like backstitching. It's just straight lines. Now, there's some people that say, I hate backstitching and a cross stitch. I won't even touch a pattern that has it. But blackwork is actually kind of cool. So it's, I'm always such a big proponent of explore new types of needleworks if you haven't done it. Now, maybe if you're interested in blackwork, maybe not start with a piece that's this size, but hey, maybe you want to. I love, and the image in that book was obviously, it turned it more into a square, but I was just pulling this, like, for lack of better words, motif that, or maybe it wasn't a square. Maybe it was like assuming this would be a motif that would get repeated multiple times in a rug. I don't even remember. But I've written the name of the book and the fact that it's from 1880. So, like I said, it's been a couple years since I put out a blackwork design, and I'm glad that I am putting out this one now. So there you go. Those are my 5 new releases for Needlework Marketplace. As I said at the beginning, it is an online wholesale show. So let's say you see something of mine or some of anybody, the new designs that are being put out there. How do you get it? Well, you find a store that is participating in Needlework Marketplace, and there are a lot. Especially if you consider the difference between this and Nashville, there's no travel costs involved. So all the more reason that a lot of stores just sign up, because why not? So any store that is participating should be able to order for you. I will be putting them on my Etsy store, as I typically do, about a month afterwards. And like I said, about a month afterwards. So 3rd, 4th week of September, you can purchase them on my Etsy store, including PDF versions. But for the first month or so, I give the stores who are participating an opportunity to get those first sales in. If you are looking for a store to purchase from, you have none, I will make a couple suggestions. I have a couple friends. Abby, who is Top Knot Stitcher Shop, she does an amazing job of getting all your patterns to you. She's an online store. I'll put a link to her website below. And I've been friends with her for many years, and I'm just so impressed with how she has grown her business over these years. Another friend, Jen, has opened a brick and mortar store in Delaware just last November called Floss and Flame, and I'll put a link to her store there as well. And and she will ship. She does, you don't have to be living in Delaware or nearby. Like most stores these days will absolutely ship. So those are just two suggestions if you don't already have a place to go to order some of the new things that are coming out right now. So let me move to the second topic, which in different ways is connected with this and with this. So if you remember, both of these were stitched on Grace Notes Fabrics. And this is the third year that Grace Notes Fabrics has put on a retreat. For me, the timing couldn't be any better. It's a few weeks after my own Stitch NJ retreat where I am on and I'm in charge and I'm doing all the things. And yeah, maybe I get a few stitches in. But it is so nice to go to a retreat just a few weeks later and just be a stitcher. So, it's sort of a typical Thursday to Sunday. It's in Allentown, Pennsylvania. There were a lot of New Jersey people there that were from, I didn't count numbers or anything, but certainly a lot of familiar faces from my retreat also went to Grace Notes. And I'll put her, did I already mark that for myself? Yes. I'll put a link to her website below. She has all kinds of fabrics, and she sets up quite a store. Fabric Heaven. If you are someone that just loves the opportunity to purchase fabric in person and see the range, hand-dyed, especially, you need to see what it really looks like. That alone is a reason to come to the Grace Notes retreat. Just want to share with you a few of the things that I acquired. So everyone got a Grace Notes fabric bag, and there were a few goodies in here. It probably doesn't surprise anyone to know that everyone got a piece of fabric. Everyone got a Star is Born. You either got linen or Aida. It was a 28 linen or a 14 count Aida, and I'm assuming, I got a linen, which is all good for me. I'm assuming if I got an Aida, I probably would have found somebody to change off with a linen. And it's a pretty color. It's a pretty blue color. Here's a freebie pattern from Shakespeare's Peddler. Oh, the booklet. They put together this booklet. It has details like, their background history, some of the events that's going on, information like local eateries, a schedule. Some things they do some games, and the games being ways to win tickets to put in for door prizes. And door prizes in this case, it's not like the raffle that I run at my retreat, which is a fundraiser, so people buying tickets. This isn't, everyone gets some tickets, and then you can do some of these other activities and earn more tickets. And they had maybe 30 or so items, and anything you were interested in, you put your tickets in, and maybe you won something. There was nothing I was interested in, but my friend Kim, I was there with a couple of friends, and Kim, there was an item she really wanted, so I was more than happy to give her my tickets and to do some of these like game tic-tac-toe and a game word search to give her a few more tickets, and she did end up winning it, so she was very happy. There are, again, just information about different things, some freebie patterns that came in, so it's sort of like one-stop shopping in terms of, of information you might need for the weekend. Some lovely gifts from, I'm just looking to see if there's other things that were, things that were in the bag included, her sister Jamie is doing, I think it's Jamie is still floss tones, yes. So this is a really pretty blue. Everyone got some thread, got some floss tags, tag, pen. But I'm trying to get to, here we go. A needle minder, which I always think is an important piece for me of any retreat. I was hoping there'd be one in the bag, as there has been. There was. It has, I don't know if you can see it, it has the names of different fabrics of theirs. Many of their names are either like names of people, like Barbara or Leo, or I don't say food, like strawberry latte. So anyway, this is just a little mishmash of those names. So I had this on my project during the weekend. I have also, here's some lovely table gifts from some new friends. Eva, who I met last year, is from Canada. We were the international table. So my friend Kim, Eva, and Melissa were three Canadians that had down. Eva is the new owner of Gita's in Canada. And this was a little, I know last year it was in the works that you'd be purchasing the store, and I don't know exactly when the transition happened, but this was a little design that was created to symbolize, I love the story behind it. This was the current owner, or this last owner's mother, who might have been the Gita of Gitas, and then this flower represents that woman who was passing it on to Eva here. So it was a very sweet to get these, and it seems like something they were giving out as a welcoming, I don't know, at some point. So with the threads and everything. Another table mate, Paula, talk about perfect timing. I had arrived a little bit after some of my friends, and obviously, sorry, I'm looking for one thing that I know is in here. How is it not in here? Oh, no, here it is. And so when I arrived, my friends had saved a seat, and there were a few little things, including this little pouch, beautifully little pouch. And I happened to walk in carrying a Starbucks cup, like a frozen, like a Frappuccino. So you know how cold drinks will like sweat a little bit. And she saw that I put it down. She's like, oh, open this. Oh, and it turns out inside she had made these little coasters. And how perfect was it? I used it right away and used it all weekend. And a few other little goodies. Everyone got a little frog keychain thing. And let's see if I can do it. So the frog sticks his tongue out at you. Some other gifty things, a little needle holder. And somebody crocheted coasters for everybody. So as is typical of retreat, a lot of kindness in the room. And again, there were a number of people that I knew or recognized, or either through my retreat or through my designs, because I also had a trunk show there. So people were buying my designs and seeing the actual models. Oh, here's a sticker I got. It's okay to fall apart, because tacos fall apart too. So I had some lovely conversations. The brag table at the Grace Notes retreat is for items that have been stitched on Grace Notes fabrics. So I had these two designs that I brought and put them on the brag table. You couldn't buy it last weekend, but it was great for people to see, because I was also trying to remember, it was also the time period where I was trying to post my new needlework designs on Needlework Marketplace designs on Instagram at this, like in between posts I was doing for the retreat. So there were some fun conversations with people. I know at least 2 or 3 people told me they already purchased a piece of Kenneth to do the color reel bouquet. I repeat again, you don't have to use the fabric I used or the colors I used. It's whatever, works for you. The last thing about the retreat that's in my hand, so I don't forget, is, as I've talked about before, I have my little tradition of getting a souvenir scissor and fob of some kind from every retreat/stitching event that I attend. And I purchased this little cardinals and a scissor fob that was part of the store. The store that Corinne sends up, obviously, it is mostly fabric. But like I said, she has some trunk shoes. She has some other things that she sells, like Lowry stands. There were a few other trunk shows, like someone who does scissor fobs and needle minders, that kind of thing. And so I just, picked one that had some red pieces to it, including a little tomato. And I'm always appreciative of a good little flower. So these were my souvenir scissors from Grace Notes. And the last thing, as I'm looking at my list, on my way out of town, we all know that our phones know us. I started getting Instagram ads for the Allentown Art Museum, specifically a quilt exhibit that opened this weekend, like the weekend we were there. And I am pretty sure at some point, and it was probably earlier in the summer, I always like visiting museums. Some of the smaller ones have some great treasures. And so I think I had Googled and found, there's an art museum in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And I like I said, I didn't see anything of super interest. It wasn't on my radar to stop there. But then I got ads that there was a quilt exhibit opening Saturday, August 9th. So on Sunday, the museum is open on Sundays. On my way out of town, I stopped there, and it was a great little opportunity. I'm so glad. How often do you say that? But I was glad for an ad. The quilt exhibit was Pennsylvania focused, and I'm not going to get all the words right. Some beautiful quilts. I also wandered around. They have a Frank Lloyd Wright interior room and sat there and read through some of the information. Like, they're inviting you, please come sit in on these chairs, and which were not original, they were reproductions, and look through the information and just learning a lot. They also have these beautiful Tiffany windows, and I got this little booklet and I wanted to bring it up. So these two windows, which are just stunning. And in the gallery where they are, they something like every half hour or so, they kind of change over the lights. So they dim the gallery lights and they just backlight the windows, and you see them that much more beautifully. And I was trying to, and I again meant to before I started this video, but obviously I didn't, learn a little bit more, because it seems like these are a new donation, or newly not renovated. What do you call it? Like fixed up, because there's this commentary, Tiffany Window donors, and it says the Tiffany Windows project, which makes me think they were already owned by the museum and they needed a lot of work made possible by these trust funds, and with the generous support of more than 220 donors to the Tiffany Windows campaign 2017 to 2025. So that makes me think they are pretty relatively newly displayed. That's a guess. Like I said, I probably could have gone online. But there's some interest, if you know anything about the Tiffany Studios. I know I read a couple things about this woman here, Agnes Northrop, who sounds like quite a fascinating woman from like the late 1800s into the 1930s, as it says. Anyway, if you are near Allentown, Pennsylvania, if you have the interests like I do in terms of any needlework of any types, like quilting, go ahead, stop in. I will also say it was also helpful to me in terms of making the decision to stop there, that it is a free museum, thanks to all kinds of generous donations or grants or whatever. So I'm so glad. I spent about an hour there, and I'm so glad that I did that. So keep that in mind if, number one, you're anywhere near Allentown, Pennsylvania, or number two, you're thinking about going to that Grace Notes retreat next year. It was maybe 20-25 minutes away. For me, it was in the direction that I was headed, so all was good with that. So this is good timing, because it's about as much time I have to devote to doing a Flosstube today. Thank you so much for being here. Especially if you make it all the way to the end, it is always greatly appreciated. I say it every time. There are so many Flosstubes to be watching these days, and I feel very lucky that you've spent a little time with me. If you're interested in any Needlework Marketplace designs, not just my own, please go ahead, support the stores in any way that you can. And I think that's about it. Till next time. Bye.